So, when did everybody start believing that there were gods, spirits, and the like? So, this is rather fun to research, and yeah, I had quite a bit of fun with it, so I'm going to go to my notes and we'll start talking about it. So, the origins of like beliefs in gods and religion and spirits and all that stuff, arguably, it began in 5000 BC, and that's because of the written record. Because before the written record, before we started actually writing stuff down in like Mesopotamia and India and other places like that. I think it's Mesopotamia, India, and one other place I can't think of off the top of my head right now. But where the first writing systems developed, that's when we can actually start getting an idea of what people were like at the time. And the only thing that we have past that, or like before that, was cave drawings and cave paintings. And the scholars kind of argue about when or what those different cave paintings mean, and some say that's like your religious iconography belief and stuff, but it's once again it's arguable. So what we have is the written record. That's why we say 5000 BC for this stuff. So spiritual entities were used as explanations for things that people didn't have explanations for. A lot of things that we have explanations for nowadays, like storms, earthquakes, droughts, famines, hurricanes, floods, all that stuff. So basically, what people couldn't explain back then, they attributed to gods. And we as people, we like to think that we control our environment, right? Control gives you a sense of security, and it's like control by proxy. So of course, we can't control the weather, so we think that like we cause different things in our world to happen. So what can cause those things to happen? Well, there must be some kind of entity out there that does that. We like to personify things. So we started attributing different personalities and things to supernatural or natural phenomena that we couldn't explain, even from like the movements of the planets and the stars and all this other stuff. Like when there was an eclipse, people thought of it as demons trying to or like bad things trying to take over the power of Nana, the moon. And they even thought of it as like when the sun sets, it's going somewhere else. It's the sun itself is a deity going somewhere else, and when it rises, two other entities open the gates for it, and then it crosses the sky, and then two other, I think they were Lamasu actually opened the gates and let the sun into the underworld. Even where do we go when we die? Well, there's a deity for that. And even before that, a lot of scholars think that the idea behind animism was around, where everything from a leaf to a tree to a rock to the sun, the stars, all of it, everything around us had a spiritual entity with it. So basically, everything around us was alive. You find that a lot now in like the tree hugger people. No offense if you're a tree hugger, but I'm just trying to make sense of this stuff here. Back to the notes, because I'm done ranting for now. So, yep. When certain people believed in a given deity, usually it was of a region or something, it gave them a sense of cultural identity. Everybody around me believes and worships this one particular deity, and it kind of rose up with city states. So every city state had either a collection of entities or one particular entity. You can think of Babylon with Marduk, you know, and for example, or like little villages and stuff. They would have little deities that were minor to the capital, let's say. And this is because back then you had the ziggurat or the temple in the middle, and that's where everybody brought their crops and and whatnot to as payment in taxes. And it was the religious center, and you had the priest as the intermediary, and the priest would work with the gods to make sure that nothing bad happened to you. So you believe in the priest, and the priest worked with the gods, and your belief in certain gods helped you with certain things, from protecting your home to growing your crops and all this other stuff. And so you would have statues or depictions like necklaces or even reliefs of these deities either on your person or in your home. You can check out my other videos in the Gods and Goddess playlist for more on all this stuff. And they would help to make sure that life went the way that you hoped it would go. If something nasty happened, like, you know, your city got destroyed by an opposing force, it was because your god was tricked, obviously, because your god was way too powerful and stuff to let that happen, so he must have been bamboozled. And some other force led by some other rival deity came in and wreaked havoc and stuff. Or if there was bad weather or whatever, gods must have been pissed off about something, so let's try to placate them. You know, even Pazuzu, right? Pazuzu went after little like kids, and or I think it was mothers. No, that was another one. Never mind. But Pazuzu would want to wreak havoc on stuff, so you would placate him and point him in the direction of somebody else. You know, it's a way of, we tried to basically not only venerate these deities, but sway them in the ways that we wanted to, because we want to have control over our environment, and because there are things that are kind of out of our control, you know, the random roll of the dice and things like that, we wanted to find a way to comfortably, in our minds, work around this issue of the dominoes and the roll of the dice and the happenstance, and give that responsibility to the gods. And then hopefully, if we work hard enough with them and placating them, things will go our way. That's more of a cultural-ish psychological digestion of that kind of thing. So as different cultures rose and fell, religion formed and shaped itself based on who was in power, where the religion in power would either demonify or adapt the deities of other religions into their own, either making them bad or adopting certain deities as lower deities or saints. This is why, like when Marduk was the boss of Babylon, when Babylon took over everywhere else, that's why Marduk rose to the top of the pantheon, whereas before it was Enlil. It was Enlil before that, and even in one other place it was Enki before that. So that's why you get a lot of these different stories of Enki did this, no, Marduk did this, no, Enlil did this. It was depending on who was in power at the time and where that particular story was written. And even with like modern Christianity, you can find the different demons that are listed by Christian like researchers or whatever from way back when. You would find a lot of those demon names were actually the names of deities that were previously worshipped, because they were trying to bastardize them. Let's say, oh, don't worship that guy, he's actually a demon, right? That's what we get all the time from people nowadays. You know, people that work with magic, or people that don't worship like the Christian God. Oh, you're really working with the devil, right? You know, paganism is the devil. God, I love that. The Adam Sandler movie was so funny. Waterboy, right? Down in the comments, fact check me. Pretty sure I'm right on that one though. So yeah, let's see. I talked about that kind of stuff. So many cultures believe that the gods needed to be worshipped or placated in order to make good things happen, or if bad things happened to good people, it was because the gods were angry. This gave them explanations for bad things that happened, such as the loss of a battle, a plague, drought, or famine. So yeah, I did basically go over all of this stuff already. It's rather kind of a short and sweet explanation, although I'm doing pretty good time for this video. This is just really fascinating, studying, like, you know, you can couple it all. You can couple like spirituality, religion, psychology, and even cultural change, because religion really is culture, and religion is people, because the people are the ones that come up with these belief systems, and it's just really interesting to see how they evolve over time. And religion evolutionary fact of the day is that Noah wasn't really Noah, and it wasn't really God that made the flood. It was Utnapishtim who was later named Noah when the Christians borrowed or stole, plagiarism, the tale. And Enlil was mad at humans, and Enlil's the god of rain, so what do? He made it rain. And Enki was like, no, I like people because I created them in the first place. So he goes to Utnapishtim and he's like, yo, build this boat. And he builds the boat, and humanity is saved. So that's the original story of the flood, which you actually get more like factual stuff with, if you look at Mesopotamia, because you have the antediluvian kings list, right? Which is the idea that kings before the flood lived for forever. And Utnapishtim literally translates to he whose days are long. He was the last of the super long living people. So the flood basically made people live shorter lives rather than like hundreds of years. Now we only live to like 100 plus. I think the oldest person is like 130 something maybe, and who really wants to get to that age anyhow? Yeah, so that's the best example I can think of how religion kind of changes stories over time and how spirituality and culture can actually shape what a given spiritual belief is. So let me know what you think about this down in the comments, or you can join my Facebook group, Magickology YT, on Facebook and chit chat with me and my other group members about this. You can email me, which you can find down in the description and at the end of this video. And yeah, good hunting. Thanks for watching my video. So if you want to check out my playlists, I have, among others, the Simon Necronomicon, the Tree of Life, General Magic, Tulpamancy, a playlist on my books, the elements, stones, the theories that govern magic, and the gods and goddesses of Mesopotamia. If you want to check out my books on Amazon, I have Creating Consciousness, Magical Mechanics, Magical Theater, Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Movement, which is an update and expansion upon Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Mastery, which is a combination masterwork of Magical Theater and Magical Mechanics, and The Guide to the Spheres and Beyond. You can also find me on Facebook at Magickology YT. You can email me at priestofthenecro@gmail.com, and you can even check out my Instagram, which is Magickology. And good hunting.